Okay, welcome to example 7. In this one we can take a look at the pop advect by volume. This means that we're gonna actually do some volume simulation here, or some pyro, because we need a volume field called vel, which is the velocity field in a volume. So to begin with, we have an emitter here that we have connected to the first input of a pop net, and in the second input I've kind of packaged up a smoke simulation here into a volume vel, just a node here that has some things inside of it. I'm quickly gonna dive into here, but since we haven't spoken about pyro yet, I'm gonna keep it really brief and just explain kind of what fields I need for this thing to work. So let's dive in here super quick. So we haven't spoken about pyro yet, so I'm just gonna go over it super quick. I have a sphere, I have created a volume, I kind of done that, I've added some density, I've added density and temperature as a field. Disregard this, and then I've done a dopnet, I've added the pyro solver, and quickly the smoke simulation looks like this. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna advect particles along this smoke with the velocity of the smoke, because what pushes this volume here is actually the velocity field, the vel field. Otherwise it's just density. So we actually have a vel field. We can import it here. And we have density and we have vel. So that's it. Let's take a look at the vel field real quick. How we can do that if we have a velocity, if you have a volume vel field, we can actually visualize it with the volume trail sop. So I'm gonna do a box. I'm gonna have some points in the box, and I'm gonna add it to the first input of the vel volume trail visualize. Okay, and then second input, I'm gonna add the actual vel field. So yeah, let's have a look at that. This like I shrunk the trail length a little bit, but yeah, let's visualize it anyway. So it's gonna look like this. It's kind of sliced of it, and where it's red is a very high velocity, and where it's blue or almost white, it's no velocity at all. So you can see that's how the velocity is gonna look. So this is basically the velocity field that we want to use in our particle simulation now. So never mind the smoke or never mind the density. We only want to focus on the actual vel field, which is the velocity of the smoke. Okay. Anyway, so this is outputted. So we get the vel out with its output, and that goes into the second input of the popnet advect by volume here. Okay. So let's dive into the popnet. In the popnet, we have done all the regular things here. We put the emission type to scatter on the surface, since we only have a primitive sphere. We have done nothing to the birth except for the life expectancy here. We put the life expectancy in 2 and the variance of 1. No inherited velocity, since all the velocity is going to go from the actual vel field of the smoke. Alright, and then streaming binding, we have done nothing. Now we want to go ahead and add the node called pop advect by volumes. So drop that down, and you're gonna get a lot of things here, which is kind of cool. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna add a fresh one, actually. Advect by volumes. I'm gonna add it here. We're gonna turn this off. So in here, we're gonna put this to second context geometry, because our second context geometry is the actual vel field going in here. Okay, this means that we can second context geometry, and the field name is called vel. That's by default. The velocity scale, we can put it to 1. In here I put it to 1 as well, so let's keep it at 1. And you could go ahead and change here, but usually you want to keep it at 4, because that gives the best result and kind of gives a more accurate result. I find you can go ahead and switch off the air resistance if you want, but I usually tend to keep it on because it gives a really nice result. So yeah, and that's basically it. That should do it. As long as you have a good looking vel field coming in, this will look really cool. So let's put it to the side here and go ahead and click play. And look at that. It gets a very different look. Like this look is really hard to recreate without actually having a vel field, because it looks really smoky and really like fiery and stuff, which is really cool. This is something I use a lot, especially when I'm doing snow or anything like this, because usually when I do it 2 layers, for example, if it's snow or if it's like a sand dune or something like this, you want to do one layer of smoke that is actually pyro. And then in that smoke, you usually want to like advect tiny particles to give more like texture and more detail to it. And that's when this node comes in super, super handy. And it gives a really cool result. So it's kind of simple, but it's a very powerful and very nice node to use. And I use it a lot, I would say. So yeah, that's the pop advect by volume. Thank you guys for watching, and see you in the next one. Thanks.